major part of your child's personality may be decided even before birth. They believe it's likely many babies are born to become shy. Tonight, a never-before-seen study says there are things you can watch out for, and new evidence that shyness can even be treated like a medical condition. Here's Sarah James.
By most accounts, Sarah Glenn is an accomplished young woman, a gifted musician, a Harvard University graduate, with a good job at a leading biotechnology company. You'd think someone like Sarah would have all the confidence in the world, but Sarah spends most of her time doubting herself. Sarah says it's because she's shy.
How long would you say that you've been shy?
All my life, I would say.
Sarah, now 28, can remember being shy as far back as nursery school.
I remember I would sit in a corner and like suck my fingers and just kind of not really interact with the other kids. I guess other people just seemed kind of scary or something.
According to many prominent experts, shyness is considered universal. Most of us say we're shy at some time or another, and a recent survey of college students showed that half think of themselves as shy. But for others, shyness is so painful, it's disabling, affecting every aspect of daily life. And as you're about to discover tonight, dramatic new research provides startling clues about just why some people are so extremely shy and offers hope for possible new treatments.
When did you begin to feel that your shyness was a problem?
Teenager years. That's when it became excruciating. I felt isolated from the other kids, and like I was just very nervous speaking in front of a class and stuff like that.
And today, what seem like the most ordinary acts of everyday life still leaves Sarah under considerable stress. Things like talking to a coworker she doesn't know very well. And situations that make most of us nervous, like giving a presentation at work or talking to her boss, are simply overwhelming.
This is really good tea.
Often, she even feels uncomfortable around close friends and her family. And just imagine how she might feel if she had to face a room full of strangers at a cocktail party. Well, it might be something like this.
I would get the physiological response pretty much everybody gets when they're very frightened. I mean, heart pounding and just, feeling shaky and your hands are cold.
What sort of thoughts would come into your mind?
Very extreme things like I'll fail, or people will think I'm an idiot, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. I don't belong in this situation.
Over time, Sarah's shyness has led to isolation. Rather than learning to deal with her uncomfortable feelings, she started to avoid most social situations.
It was so extreme that it was like, what would you do if you saw a tiger running towards you? I mean, you'd run.
And it felt like a tiger running towards you. That's strong. That's a lot of emotion, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no escape from her fear or her pain.
Do you think people realize how intense shyness can be if they're not shy?
No.
What do you think they don't understand? Am I upsetting you? What are you thinking?
I just don't think people who are not shy can understand how painful it is.
But that may be changing because the very nature of how experts think about shyness is changing. Here at Harvard University, researchers have been studying a group of children since they were 4 months old enough to show signs of distress, but too young to be influenced by their environment. The goal? To test a hypothesis that some people may be born with a biological makeup to become shy. Dr. Jerome Kagan is a distinguished professor of psychology at Harvard who has won many prestigious awards for his work on shyness. Currently, he's conducting the ongoing shyness study.
When we looked at the 4-month-old infants and saw that certain qualities could predict who would be timid, shy when they were 3-4 years old, that was a very big surprise.
Meet 6-year-old Blair Bailey and 7-year-old Lisa Locke. Both girls live in the suburbs of Boston and are two of the more than 500 children who took part in Dr. Kagan's study. The researchers wanted to see if they could predict which babies would grow into shy children and which would become bold. So they followed the children for 5 years and eliminated any whose parents divorced or experienced any other kind of trauma that could be an environmental cause of shyness. Over the years, the researchers tested the children's responses to a series of unfamiliar events, starting with loud recorded voices placed away from the children.
Hello, pretty baby. How are you today?
This is Blair Bailey when she was 4 months old.
You have been a very good baby today.
She remains rather relaxed. Notice she's not crying. She's not showing any fear on her face. She's not becoming highly aroused to this unfamiliar stimulation.
And look what happens when a mobile that Blair has never seen before is swung in front of her.
Again, no crying, no fretting, no fussing. She stays relatively relaxed.
How do you know, though, that she's not a little bored or that maybe she's not as bright?
We tested her brightness later. If she were bored, then she would look away.
Hello, pretty baby. How are you today?
And this is Lisa Locke at 4 months.
You have been a very good baby today.
Notice she's hearing the same sentences, and she, unlike Blair, you see she cries. She was bothered by it, by the strangeness, by the unfamiliarity. Now she's looking to see where her mother is.
Are you ready for some nice...
See, she's moving her legs much more than Blair did. Notice the tension in her fingers. Notice the movement of the back.
Now look what happens when Lisa is shown the same mobile.
Look at that. She got so aroused that she almost fell out of the chair. We call these infants high reactive. That makes sense because they're very reactive to very innocent stimulation. And they are the ones who are more likely to be the inhibited, subdued children.
How do you know, though, doctor, that she just didn't have a bad night? She didn't sleep very well. Maybe she's got an upset stomach.
Because we have 100 other Lisas who do the same thing. And so it happens 100 times. It's unlikely that every one of the children who we said was highly arousable at 16 weeks also had a bad night.
And remember Blair Bailey, who seemed so relaxed as an infant? Well, watch what happens at age 21 months when Blair and her mother enter a room they've never been in before. It's filled with unfamiliar things.
Blair comes in, leaves her mother at once, starts to climb around, is not worried about hurting herself, stands up on the cabinet. Notice she talks, jumps up and down.
Blair isn't afraid of anything in this room, including a scary mask.
She explores it with no fear, doesn't look at her mother to see whether this is okay to do.
At 21 months, is this surprising, this level of independence, willingness to go into an unfamiliar setting?
Not for this temperamental type of child. The vast majority of the children who behaved as Blair did at 4 months, 2/3 behave in this very freestyle, talking a lot, not staying close to their mother.
And now watch Lisa Locke, who was agitated by the tests as an infant, react to the same unfamiliar setting at age 21 months.
Lisa is uncomfortable. She wants to leave.
Look at this. She is pulling her mother up. She's insistent.
She has become anxious, fearful. She wants to get out of here because this is not a place that's familiar to her, while Blair was unbothered.
Watch what happens at age 4.5, when the children were asked to complete a series of tasks by a researcher they'd just met in a room they'd never seen before.
And what is this for? To hear what's going on inside your body.
From the moment she entered the room, Blair, who was so unafraid and relaxed when tested as a baby, had a lot to say and obviously was comfortable, even when asked to do something that normally a child might be punished for.
Scribble in the brand new book. Hello.
She made over 200 comments in this particular hour, which is very high. The average is 50.
Why? I don't know. Me neither. What do you think we should do? Scribble.
This girl, of over 200 children, smiled the most in this hour.
You want to do it, or should we do the next one? Next one.
She smiled almost 100 times.
Pour the juice on the table. What's that for?
See, she questions why she should do this. That's what these bold children do. They don't do everything they're told. See, she knows it's wrong, so she's stalling.
Why? I don't know. Me neither. Silly, what do you think we should do? Dump it. Okay. You going to? I don't know how.
She's not afraid to say to this adult, well, wait a minute, I'm not sure I should do that.
As the testing continues, Blair starts to have fun.
Tear up my favorite picture.
She realized this is a game, and okay, I'll go along with the game.
Okay.
Now here's Lisa at age 4.5, who again was agitated by the tests as a baby.
Scribble in a brand new book.
She thought about whether I should do this, and then she does make some marks. But see, it'd be harder for her to say, no, I don't want to do that. Remember, the price of saying no is maybe the examiner will criticize me. But you see, she's concerned about it. She rubbed her forehead. But
There's some stress here.
She noticed she's not smiling the way
Look
Blair
at her
did.
hands.
Yes, well, she's a little tense about this.
Pour the juice on the table.
Lisa completed each task quickly and anxiously. She didn't speak at all during the testing, and for the most part glanced down rather than making eye contact with the researcher, all signs of shy behavior.
Tear up my favorite picture.
Remember how Blair smiled and laughed, and as a joke, this is all quite serious for Lisa.
Remember, the predictions Dr. Kagan made about which babies were more likely to become shy and which might become bold were made when the infants were just 4 months old, long before the effects of parenting would be felt.
Dr. Kagan's theory that some people may be born with a biological predisposition to become shy remains unproven. But he says his hunch is based on well-documented research. He says his preliminary findings that 2/3 of the agitated babies became shy and 2/3 of the relaxed babies became bold support his idea.
I've always sensed that somehow I react to things more strongly than other people.
Do you think that you were, in essence, born shy?
Yes, definitely.
Although not everyone who is shy was born with this predisposition, and no one is discounting the important role that the environment and parenting play, Dr. Kagan's research is helping Sarah Glenn and millions of people like her recognize that biology may be a contributing factor to shyness.
It takes a little bit of the brunt off me. I mean, I don't have to say it's all my fault.
But is it her fate? Could the answer to her lifelong shyness problem be as simple as taking a pill?
A pill to deal with shyness? What some claim could be a medical breakthrough when we come back.
Occasionally we'll see really dramatic responses where extremely shy, inhibited kids within a matter of a month or so are speaking very freely and really not looking like particularly shy children at all.
Now at Red Lobster, it's our fresh new lunch.
We've just seen a groundbreaking study showing why some researchers believe shyness is a personality trait that's set before birth. If that's the case, can help be found for people who are virtually paralyzed by shyness? Could a pill be the answer? Once again, here's Sarah James.
At first glance, Elizabeth Elric would appear to have little in common with Sarah Glenn. Elizabeth is 8. Sarah is 28. Elizabeth is a second grader. Sarah, a Harvard graduate. Elizabeth lives in the Northeast. Sarah on the West Coast. But like Sarah, Elizabeth's life has been dominated by one trait: shyness. And as you'll see later, what makes Elizabeth's story so different and so intriguing is the extraordinary decision she has made with her parents to try to overcome her shyness.
Well, you have the tacky glue right there. You can use that too.
Elizabeth has spent more than half her short life trying to change the tremendous anxiety she feels around people. Cheryl and Chuck are her parents.
The Elizabeth you see in this house. Tell me about that Elizabeth.
Very animated, very easygoing.
Funny.
Very,
An incredible sense of humor.
When it is just the three of us or immediate family, she speaks very openly at home, constantly, loudly at times.
But at school, it's a different story, and Elizabeth is a different person. A little girl so shy, she's never spoken a single word in school, not to a teacher, not to a classmate, since she was 4 years old. Elizabeth wouldn't let us hear her voice either, but said she'd talk to us if she could whisper her answers to her mother.
What do you feel like when you can't talk?
Frustrated, scared.
And some far off spray.
As the other children read aloud and ask questions, Elizabeth sits in silence. She won't even open her mouth to ask to go to the bathroom. She relies instead on hand gestures and written notes to communicate.
Which one of these had the least amount of squares? The roads. Very good.
She spends most of her day at school feeling left out because she can't converse with the other kids and often gets excluded from birthday parties, all because she's too shy to speak outside her home.
Does it hurt sometimes to not be able to speak? Make you sad sometimes?
Not even an encounter with a schoolyard bully could make this little girl talk.
There was an incident in the bus line, and one particular little boy said, "I'll make her talk," and he went for her hair to pull her hair.
But it didn't work. Even when provoked, Elizabeth couldn't muster the courage to tell a bully to get lost or a teacher what had happened.
Obviously, it was frustrating. She wanted other people to know what had happened.
So, I mean, if 48% of the population is chronically shy, some of us are out there being a little bit clumsy.
For years, if shyness was treated at all, it was done in a setting like this, group therapy. It's the very kind of program Sarah Glenn decided to enroll in to try to overcome her shyness.
What kind of automatic thoughts come to you?
Here at the Shyness Clinic in Palo Alto, California, Sarah examines her fears.
I don't know, that somehow I won't be able to join the group.
She works to reduce her anxiety by role-playing situations where she feels uncomfortable, like a cocktail party.
What changes are you noticing?
The most noticeable thing is just an absence of feeling really bad, because usually when I would feel really, really bad, it would be because I had been thinking several things that were very extreme, such as, I'm worthless, or I'm a failure, or, people hate me or something. And I just don't think those things anymore. Or when I do, I know how to cut them off.
But for 8-year-old Elizabeth Elric, therapy isn't the answer because she won't talk to a counselor. She won't speak to anyone other than her parents, one friend, and a few close relatives. The Elrics say so far nothing has worked. Not play therapy, not the behavior modification charts, which awarded Elizabeth prizes for any communication, from smiling to making eye contact. Not even time. The Elrics said they hoped Elizabeth would grow out of her shyness so she could get on with growing up, concerned that this could become a lifelong handicap. But after 3.5 years, that hope is fading, and Elizabeth is facing another fear now. Much as she wants to talk, she's afraid of what will happen when she does, embarrassed about being the center of attention, and worried about how the other children will react.
People are going to be shocked that she's going to, and it's going to be, oh, she's talking.
That's enough to reinforce the phobia.
Point to the word for me, Elizabeth.
The Elrics feared that the longer Elizabeth delayed talking, the harder it would be for her to speak up in school. So she and her parents are trying something radical, a controversial drug that just recently has been used to treat shyness.
Elizabeth said that she wanted to change her behavior and she was willing to take medication to do that.
I cannot imagine the frustration for parents as you deal with a young girl who is plenty smart enough to give the answers, but won't speak up.
Well, I think that's, has brought us basically to this point.
So they turned to Dr. Bruce Black, a child psychiatrist at Tufts University School of Medicine in Boston. He's treated more than 80 extremely shy children with the antidepressant drug Prozac.
Usually it takes at least a month or two, or even longer, to really see what the beneficial effects are going to be.
Dr. Black says that in a third of the cases, there's no change, and modest improvement in another third. But there can be dramatic changes for the rest.
Occasionally we'll see extremely shy, inhibited kids within a matter of a month or so are speaking very freely and really not looking like particularly shy children at all.
Why would Prozac make people less shy? Scientists speculate some shyness may be biochemical as much as psychological. In stressful situations, they theorize, the part of the brain involved in novelty may become activated by brain chemicals, causing a rise in heart rate, blood pressure, skin temperature, and anxiety. The doctors say Prozac alters the brain's chemistry, reducing a shy person's reaction in the same situation.
There may be people sitting at home saying, Prozac, that's not aspirin. That's a serious drug. This is an 8-year-old child. Is that a concern to you as her parent?
Absolutely. The one piece that no one can give us as parents are there are no long-term studies. So you don't know what kinds of effects it's going to have.
Given that, Cheryl, why did the two of you decide we're going to go ahead?
We want our daughter to experience her younger years as a normal child.
And socialization is a real big part of that. Shyness is changing her whole life.
Just how safe is this treatment for shy children? Dateline contacted a number of respected mental health and child psychiatric organizations to see what the experts thought. We were told by virtually everyone we spoke to that Prozac has been used safely to treat hundreds of extremely shy children like Elizabeth. But since this is a relatively new drug with no long-term studies, and since not all shyness is based in biology, they recommend trying non-medical methods first and using Prozac only as a last resort.
Dr. Black says that as promising as Prozac is as a treatment for shyness, there is a potential for misuse.
Are you concerned that this could be overprescribed, that we could wind up with designer personalities? My kid doesn't talk enough in class, I'm going to put him on a drug.
Well, in an abstract sense, that's certainly something to be concerned about. Most parents are not eager to put their kids on medications.
And the Elricks weren't eager either, but they say they would rather see if the medication can help Elizabeth than watch their daughter spend her childhood suffering in silence.
I hope that the medication relieves the anxiety so that she can express herself the way she expresses it around the house to us. She has so much to offer. She is bright, she is funny, and I'd like to have other people see that in her rather than see this blank expression when someone asks her a question.
Elizabeth's parents tell us she's made great progress in the 2 months she's taken Prozac. She's more comfortable using the phone now, spoke out loud to her best friend, and even whispered in school for the first time.
Coming up next, speak your mind about shyness in Dateline's Question of the Week.
On NBC Nightly News, Jane?
Now let's take a look at one